We are now going to have more words of wisdom from Ms. Whitaker, adding and subtracting mixed numbers. Again, as we talked about in previous videos, a mixed number is a whole number and a fraction. Before I can add fractions, I have to get a common denominator. The bottom numbers have to be the same. So I'm going to use 12. 3 times 4 will give me 12, so I'm going to multiply by 4 over 4. 3 times 4 is 12, 2 times 4 is 8, and don't forget to bring the whole number over. 4 times 3 is 12, so I'll multiply by the 1s for 3 over 3. 4 times 3 is 12, 1 times 3 is 3. Again, don't forget the whole number. I'm going to remind myself that I'm adding. I'll write down my denominator because I have a common denominator. I'm going to add my numerators. I get 11. And again, don't forget those whole numbers. 11 over 12 will not reduce. Don't even have to think about that one because those are consecutive numbers. Numbers that come right after each other. 3, 4, 2, 3, 5, 6. Those are consecutive and those will not reduce. Okay, let's try another. One more adding and then we'll go to subtracting. 9 3/5 plus 4/7. Again, I need to get a common denominator. Anytime I'm not sure, I can always multiply the two denominators to get a common denominator. 5 times 7, so I'm going to multiply by 7 over 7. 5 times 7 is 35. 3 times 7 is 21. Scoot a whole number over. 7 times 5 gives me 35. And 4 times 5 gives me 20. Again, I am adding. I write down my denominator. I'm going to add my numerators and bring down my whole number because 9 plus nothing is 9. Uh-oh, improper fraction. In order to get rid of an improper fraction, I'm going to tie bow. 41 divided by 35 is 1. To subtract leaves me with 6. So 41 over 35 equals 1 and 6/35. But I still have a whole number here. So I need to put my whole numbers together. That gives me 10 wholes and 6 over 35. And let's do some subtracting. Subtracting, you have to think a little more than you do on the adding. Let's see, let's try a whole number first, minus a fraction. Okay, I have 6 wholes minus 2/5. Don't have a fraction here to subtract the 2/5 from. Anytime we don't have enough when we're subtracting, we always borrow or regroup. So when I take 1 away from 6, 5 is left. Now I have to decide what I want my 1 to look like, or my onester. I know it needs to have a 5 on the bottom, so I can have a common denominator. Well, in order for it to equal 1, it has to have a 5 on the top. 5 over 5, 3 over 3, 4 over 4. Those equal 1. This tells me I want a 5 over 5. Now I'm going to write down my denominator. I subtract my numerators. My whole number, 5 minus nothing, is 5. And that will not reduce. Let's do another whole number. If I have 12 minus 2/3. Don't have anything here to take the 2/3 away from. So I'm going to borrow or regroup. I look at my denominator. That tells me the one I borrowed needs to be a 3 over 3. I write down my denominator. 3 minus 2 is 1. 11 minus nothing is 11. Okay. Now, when we do have a fraction up top, things are a little different. So let's say 6 2/3 minus 1 1/2. I've got to get a common denominator. So I'm going to use 6. I know if I multiply by 2 over 2, 3 times 2 is 6, 2 times 2 is 4. Bring over my whole number. 2 times 3 is 6. 1 times 3 is 3. Bring over my whole number. I am subtracting. 4 minus 3 gives me 1. I already had my common denominator. And 6 minus 1 is 5. Okay. If I have 7 and 2/5. Now on this one you need to watch carefully because I'm going to have to do borrowing even with the fraction already there. Have to get my common denominator. We're pretty good at this now, so I'll go through this quickly. Okay, got my common denominator. Don't forget my whole numbers. Uh-oh, I can't say 8 take away 15. No, when I don't have enough, I regroup. Now, before when we borrowed, we looked at our denominator because my 1 needs to have this as the denominator. Well, 20 over 20 gives me 1 whole, but I already had 8 20ths. It just wasn't enough. So I need to put those together. If you have 8 20ths and I give you 20 20ths, then you will now have 28 20ths. So don't need that anymore. This is what he looks like. So it is 6 and 28 20ths. I'm going to write down my common denominator. I will subtract 28 and 15, and if I need to, I can come over to the side to subtract it. Don't want to miss it after all that hard work. 6 minus 2 gives me 4. And then I look, will 13 over 20 reduce? No, it will not. One more like this. Let's say we have 5 1/2 minus 2 4/7. Again, we're pretty good at this common denominator, so I'll go through that quickly. Make sure I bring over my whole number. Getting that equivalent fraction, instead of being 4/7, put a little makeup on him, he is now 8 over 14. Okay, if I have 7 things, I can't give you 8 things. So I need to go through and regroup or borrow. I'll look at that denominator. He tells me it's got to be a 14 over 14 is what my 1 is going to equal. Well, I already had 7 over 14, so when I put those together, I now have 21 over 14. So I'm going to come over here, 21 minus 8. When I subtract, I have 13 as my numerator. My common denominator stays. 4 minus 2 is 2. Again, those are consecutive numbers, so I know they won't reduce anymore. Hope this helps. If you will also look, there are worksheets under useful links that you can work these.